What's up? Thanks for tuning in to the Wildcaster postgame. I'm Alec White. He's Michael Lev. He's Justin Spears. And for the 19th consecutive time, we are standing here before you talking about an Arizona Wildcats loss. And this one, fellas, I think hurts or feels more dejecting, more disappointing, all of those flavorful adjectives that we can't say on air than ever before, because Arizona had a 16-7 lead going into the fourth quarter. They were controlling this game against Washington. They were making the Huskies offense look anemic, like Dylan Morris was not moving the ball downfield at all. And then all of a sudden, a Will Plummer interception changes the entire course of this game. Huskies score 2 touchdowns. The Wildcats don't get more than 30 yards of offense the rest of the game. And we're sitting here wondering, how did it get this bad?
Yeah, that play turned the game around, obviously. One could argue it was similar in terms of the effect on the game as the pick six that Will threw against NAU several weeks ago. But this was different. I mean, this wasn't like a terrible play by him or a terrible pass. I mean, it was just one where there were a bunch of guys kind of in the area on a screen. It was a 300-plus pound nose tackle who picked off the ball. He should have thrown it in the dirt.
Yeah.
More people would say that jedd-fisch shouldn't have called a pass in that situation. They were running the ball really well. They were at the 28-yard line, so they're already in field goal range. You make a field goal, you're up 19-7. They would need 2 touchdowns to take the lead instead of a touchdown and a field goal. Like, why pass the ball at all? Jed said, it was about as safe of a pass as they possibly could have called. Obviously, it didn't turn out that way. And there's a mental block here, I think, for this team, this program. When things start going the wrong way, they can't stop them from going the wrong way. It was like, once that happened, it's almost like you knew they were going to lose, and they knew they were going to lose, and that's the hurdle that they have to overcome.
Well, and the broadcast said, we weren't watching it, but somebody pointed out on Twitter that the broadcasters on ESPN said 56 players on Arizona's roster have yet to win a game in an Arizona uniform. That, you're talking about the mental block. The majority of the team has still yet to experience a winning feeling while being in Arizona. So when you have these mental errors, it just compounds because you don't know how to dig yourself out. There's no experience that you can rely on and say, we've done this in the past, this has happened, now we can, face the adversity. They don't know how to combat that.
Yeah. Well, I go back to that BYU game, and they're down 21-3. They fight and claw their way back, and I get it. It's the season opener, but they got back into that game. Things go crazy in the fourth quarter, and they were unable to come back from it. But this team tonight showed me that they're very fragile, and it's like, I know there's a lot of tough kids on that team that have experienced so much in their time at Arizona, but they're fragile. They really are, because once that interception happened, you have to go to the sideline thinking, okay, let's remain calm. It's not the end of the world. It's still a 2-possession ball game. And they allowed Washington just come back. They had the explosive plays. They had the 51-yard game.
2 51-yard
passing plays. And that right there, it is just so deflating. And once all of it happened, it was just a big snowball effect, and Arizona wasn't able to recover from it. The game was right there for Arizona. They had it. But yet there's just something about the state of mind with this Arizona team. They're fragile, and they showed it tonight.
Yeah, there were some other things that happened in that fourth quarter that leave you scratching your head. One of them was a 4th and 1 from, I believe it was the 34-yard line.
Yep, 34.
Right? With the score 16-14 in Arizona's favor. And I think a lot of us in the press box thought and even said out loud, hey, they got to go for it here.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity to sustain the drive, keep the ball away from Washington. Jedd-fisch did not do that. His reasoning was, if we don't make it, they're pretty much in field goal range already to go ahead. But when you've lost 18 games in a row, you've got to have that what do we have to lose mentality. That was one play. The other one was it's 3rd and 4 with about 2.5 minutes left or so, and Lev Tatum III comes running onto the field late. We all thought, they only had 10 men on the field. He was the 12th man on the field.
Yeah.
And they stop Washington short, but the penalty is called for too many men on the field, illegal substitution, and Washington gets to keep the ball. By the time Arizona got it back, they only had 21 seconds left from their own 20 with no timeouts. Those are the type of self-inflicted wounds, a term that Jedd-Fisch has used often, that keep happening to this team, and that is what is preventing them from getting over the hump.
Well, another penalty that I thought was just very deflating for the defense was actually down here. Washington was driving,
defensive holding.
and they called a defensive holding. I believe it was on Christian Roland Wallace.
No, it's Christian Young.
Christian Young.
On the tight end in
Roland
the end
Wallace
zone.
gave
Yep.
up the touchdown on the next play.
So I mean, just things like that, man. They just I asked the guys after the game, and I asked them, was this probably the most undisciplined game that you have played? And Jerry Roberts said, I mean, we played undisciplined football all year long, but this is probably at the top.
They had 10 penalties today. They had 12 penalties against UCLA. So it wasn't a season high. But they've been consistently, since the opener, I think they've had 8 or more in every game.
No, they didn't have.
Well, maybe not last week.
They had 7
Okay,
last
7.
week.
Okay, great.
But yeah,
Still,
7 or more.
You want to be
since
like,
the
I'd say
BYU.
6 or under.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to be 10 or more. And especially when, we've talked about this before, you are facing a talent deficit. Right? If you look at the recruiting rankings for Washington's roster and Arizona's roster, you would understand why the Huskies were favored by 17.5, 18 points in this game, and most people, including you two, thought that it was going to be a blowout.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
When you have that going on, you can't afford to have these mistakes. You got to do all the little things right. And there was some good stuff tonight, right? I mean, good special teams performance, blocked a punt, great punting by Kyle Ostendorf, made all the field goals. That's a little thing.
4 sacks. The defense got 4 sacks.
Defense had some good stuff, but as Jed said, it's I asked him, aside from those big passing plays, what do you think of the defense's performance? And he's like, well, it includes those big passing plays.
Yeah.
So they're not there yet. They're getting closer. I think once you sort of step away from all of the angst caused by that fourth quarter, maybe you look at this and you say, you know what, this is one of the best games they've played this season. This is as close as they've come to winning against an FBS opponent. We're going to take the NAU game out of the equation. That was a 2-point loss. This was a 5-point.
Yeah. But I can also understand, frustration from Arizona fans. I know they can, exaggerate a little bit and be a little too critical for Jedd-Fisch's first season. But, Fisch said in his press conference that, Arizona's been in so many games, right? They've been in one possession and it's there. They just need to execute and just remain disciplined down the stretch in order to get these wins. And I can understand why Arizona football fans are frustrated, because so many opportunities to get a win, and yet the Wildcats just fall apart down the stretch.
So now, guys, we talk about our favorite subject ever, Arizona quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And what to do. It looks like Will Plummer is going to remain the starting quarterback, but how much that changes, I don't know. Jamari Joyner looked good running the read option spread, RPO type offense. He had a rushing touchdown. It was Arizona,
and
looked really good.
And some of the best rushing plays they had were on zone reads, where Jamari was putting the ball in the belly of the running back and reading the defensive end. The big run by Stevie Rocker.
He was making a block down the
sideline. It was kind of cool because it's a couple of kids from the Tucson area, teaming up,
5-2-0 gang,
running down the side there for a huge gain. Jedd-Fisch, he pretty much said, we're going to have to explore this even more. So I think whatever amount of plays you saw from Jamari Joyner as a Wildcat quarterback tonight, Wildcat quote unquote, I think you're going to see even more of it. Will had 20 pass attempts that gained only 68 yards.
3.4.
That's not great.
Yeah.
That's not great. You'd like there to be about 100 more yards tacked onto that. They ran the ball for 218?
Yep.
Tonight, which we thought they could. That's sort of what the statistics suggested when you looked at Washington's defense. But there has to be some downfield passing element, right? I mean, you can't just rely on a rushing attack. I mean, this is not a service academy
Well, we thought
that we're talking about here.
We thought Will Plummer could potentially be the guy or not the guy, but the guy to throw downfield, because he kind of had that reputation of he's going to stand in the pocket, throw it downfield. He was taking more shots than Gunnar Cruz, more shots downfield than Jordan McLeod was. And it seemed like he mirrored Gunnar Cruz more than he mirrored like himself of what we've seen previous iterations of Will Plummer.
It felt like watching him that they had just drilled the idea into his head of don't take any unnecessary risks. Like, if it's not there, take off and run. He did a pretty good job scrambling. I thought pass protection was pretty bad early in the game, and he didn't really have a lot of time. It improved over the course of the game.
From both the offensive line and running backs.
Yeah, the blocking. Well, I said this many times. There's a cumulative effect if you can run the ball effectively. Like, you can wear down the opposition. Washington was missing a bunch of starters tonight, and I think you saw that as the game went along. But it's another loss. And guys, I'm gonna take this one on myself, actually. So here's what happened. Okay, so I have to kind of write during the game, right? Like, we have to sort of hit a story like right at the buzzer. And I said, I was sitting next to Alec, and I wrote these words on my screen: "The streak is over." I said, "Alec, check this out." This was early in the fourth quarter.
Jinx!
I jinxed them. So this one's on me, guys.
I watched Michael click the
There was a lot of
backspace.
yeah. There was a lot of
delete that.
deleting that went on after that.
Yo,
as
jedd-fisch
happens. Yeah.
All right, well, that wraps it up here from Arizona Stadium. The Wildcats go to 0-7 on the year. Next week, LA trip. They go out to face USC. They get an extra day of rest. Michael Lev, you'll be in attendance for that one. Potentially Justin Spears.
I'm there.
Go.
Justin's there.
I'm
So
there.
we're gonna have not only that, but Justin and I are gonna check out 3 of Arizona's big recruits who are playing for Anaheim Servite against St. John Bosco in a huge high school game on Friday night in LA. So we'll have bonus coverage for all you guys of some future Wildcats.
Look at that. If you don't want to read about the current team, we've got some future.
There's always hope. There's always hope.
So signing off here from Arizona Stadium. You're watching the Wildcaster post game. We'll see you next time we see you.